Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Friday's webinar from Anicca Digital. Today it's myself, Ann Stanley, and I'm going to show you some of the amazing results that we've had from running these weekly webinars for nearly a year now. We started back in sort of late March, April last year. And I'm also going to show you quite a lot of marketing tips to actually promote your online event, which is the majority of the presentation today. So while we wait for a few more people to actually attend and join us, because we always get a few people just sort of joining just after 9 o'clock, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run our first poll. And the first poll, you can hit more than one answer, but are you currently running webinars or virtual events? The first answer is no, but we intend to start running them this year. No, I'm here to learn, or I manage other staff that run webinars. Yes, we've run one or two webinars, but need to improve our results. Yes, we've run several webinars or virtual events, but want more new ideas. Yes, we're regularly running webinars, and I want to benchmark our success. So I'm hoping to show you the sorts of results we get later. So at the moment, we've got about 40% of people haven't started running them at all. And about 30% somebody else is running them. So there's only a few of you that have actually run any at all. Probably less than, oh, we're getting a few more now. Yeah, so it's pretty much a three-way split between people that haven't run anything at all, somebody else is running them, or they want to run them later on, and then the people that have at least started. So that gives us a good idea, and you should be able to see the percentages yourself. Okay, so the next question is, for the people that have actually started to do some webinars, so that's about a third of you, what are you doing? Are you using a free platform like Zoom, or streaming features like Facebook Live? And this question is all about whether you're prepared to pay for a platform or whether you're using something for free, basically. No, we're using features within Teams or Hangouts, and although you have to pay for those as part of the service, you're not paying anything extra. Yes, we're using the cheapest version of Zoom. Yes, we've got a legacy package such as GoToMeetings. A lot of people were obviously using GoToMeetings and things before the lockdown. Yes, we're currently looking to purchase or upgrade our webinar package. Yes, we've invested in the webinar software and spend less than £100 a month. And yes, we've invested in specialist webinar conference software, and we're spending more than £100 a month. So not so many answers this time, but the majority of you aren't really spending very much money. You've either gone for the free option within Zoom or within things like Teams and Hangouts. That's probably about 2/3 of you. And then some of you are using the cheapest options. Now, what I'm hoping to show you today is the real benefits of actually upgrading and using an option like we use, which is this package is actually Big Marker that you become familiar with. So hopefully I'm going to give you lots of really useful stuff. We've got lots of people writing messages in the chat. Now, I'm not going to be able to answer any questions until the end, but please do write questions, and then we'll pick some of them at the end. And then for anybody that's new and haven't been before, we will be recording this. As you know, it started recording now, and I'll be sending around the recordings later on. So without further ado, let's just dive straight in and get on with the presentation. So a little bit about Anicca. And some of the brands that we work with. So we work with a mix of B2B and B2C brands. We have about 35 to 40 clients. We are hoping to grow quite significantly over the next 2 years, obviously depending on economic circumstances. And we tend to do a lot of both lead generation and e-commerce. So we've got a 50-50 split on that. What I'm going to cover today is I'm going to really do an update of my original webinar, which was back in July. And I don't know, I can't actually grab the URL for that, but I will. I'll see if I can do that while we're talking. And this was the original webinar, which was actually one of our most popular webinars, where we talked about how to actually set up and use the software. And I did actually provide quite a detailed walkthrough of each of the different stages of doing a setup and the different processes. So what I'm doing today is actually going to continue on that theme, and actually try and cover some additional learnings that have happened as a result of running all those seminars and webinars. And the reason for doing this is because, you know, having done so many, we've learned a lot of tips about what works and what doesn't, but also about how to really move that on and what actually results you're likely to get. So I can't find it now, so I have to get it. I can't, it's really difficult to do two things at once. So unless Jordan or somebody else from the Anicca team can go on and find the link for me, which would be very useful, that, and add that to the chat, that would be really useful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of background about selecting the webinar platform and some resources to go and research that. I'm also going to give you the timeline that we use for setup and hosting your webinar. And it's really surprising, but most people do not book to go on a webinar until the week before. They don't plan ahead. So in our cases, nearly all of our bookings come in on the Monday and the Wednesday of the week of the actual Friday. So this week, in fact. I'm going to show you how to use Canva to create the assets, so you don't have to have expensive Photoshop or any other software like that. And then the biggest chunk of the actual presentation is about the actual marketing activities that we use to promote the webinar. And you can see from the information I provide why I recommend why I do recommend that you use a professional webinar package rather than something like Zoom, which is really designed for meetings rather than running webinars. I'm then going to give you some of the results and what we actually achieved, and actually a little bit of insight about what you could achieve as well, and then some conclusions and some top tips. So hopefully there's a reasonable number of slides. As usual, I've got lots of slides, but they're quite visual today, so there's not as many bullet points as some of my more intense slides. So hopefully it'll be a nice, easy day for you. Okay, so first of all, selecting your webinar platform. So first of all, you need to think about what your actually objectives are, and why you're actually running the webinar or the virtual events in the first place. So I'm focusing on sort of regular webinars and maybe conferences, but really the main reasons is to effectively replace events that you would have run before, which was our reason. You know, we ran so many events, we spoke at lots of conferences, and we really needed to replace those. We also ran Leicester Digital Live, which was a monthly networking event, and this is really our replacement of the monthly meetups, and then, as you'll see later on, the conference that's in 2 weeks' time. From a sales and marketing perspective, when COVID hit, we wanted to do two things. Thanks, Jordan. He's put the link in, so please go and grab the link from the chat, and so you can go and refer and watch that webinar later. So we wanted to be helpful. We thought it was really important to help everybody else, but we also were really finding it difficult to keep up to date with weekly blogging. So we actually find it easier to do webinars every week than we do to blog, which is ridiculous, really. So we wanted to get across to people that we knew our stuff, and that, you know, we could actually be assistance to local businesses, and, you know, businesses actually from all over the world have tuned into these. We want to be seen as a thought leader. We wanted to show people we knew what we were talking about, and we also wanted to reach a larger audience. Because the trouble with the monthly seminars that we ran at our office was it was great because we had pizza and beer, but only sort of 10 to 20 people would turn up. Whereas you'll see from this, we'll regularly get 2 or 5 times more than that on these weekly webinars. I suppose the other thing we wanted to do was we wanted to build up a bit of a community. We wanted to do it every week. So we got that ongoing engagement, and the results show that that's worked. And we did want to use it as a channel to promote some other things. So, we've got other training resources. We've got our conference, and we did want to do a few other things with it. So with that in mind, we looked pretty quickly at actually selecting a paid for platform. And so these were the 2 main videos that I used in my research. And you can see, if you go and search for review of webinar software, these 2 guys, which is the Podio guys, and then Active Growth, they've got lots and lots of really useful webinars. And this guy here actually goes into depth into each of a number of platforms. So what I did was I took the research from this and I did the analysis, and I've summarized it in this table. Obviously, you've got some links in here that you'll be able to click on if you use the PDF, because the PDF links work. And you can see the sort of range of different types of webinar software out there. And I'm sure there's a load more since they did these videos, because they do take quite a long time to produce. So there's going to be a lot more videos, webinar software out there, and there might even be some newer videos out there as well. So what I've done is I've just ticked which ones were reviewed by which of the 2 guys. And then the conclusion from this research is you've got 2 options. You can either go down the free or very cheap option, but they tend to have a lot of limited functionality, particularly around the marketing functionality, or you can pay for more features. So if you're serious about doing this regularly, you definitely want to go to a more advanced option. And although I still see a lot of people running webinars through Zoom, you'll soon see, even with the the paid option, the minimal paid option, that it's still got a lot of features missing. So what I have done is I've recommended platforms from the Active Growth webinar, which went into a lot more detail. I've also given you an idea of the cost, and the 3 platforms I've included is Zoom, which is the paid version of Zoom, Big Marker, which is the one we went with, and Webinar Jam. Now, Webinar Jam isn't available to pay monthly, but it is the cheapest option for 500 attendees if you go for the whole year. It's very focused on the marketing activities, but you can't really test it because there isn't a monthly option. Now, Zoom at the other end, you really do need a pro version because you need 100 attendees, but also it will get cut off after about 40 minutes, and most webinars are an hour. So you need to pay at least £11.99 a month, and that will give you things like a landing page registration. But most of the reviewers said it's not worth adding on the extra module. They didn't really think that the extra stuff was worth it. And in fact, if you're going to spend money, you might as well jump up to something like Big Marker, which was sort of slightly more expensive. There were some ones in between, but from a functionality point of view, it's absolutely way ahead of the others. And what we did was, for the first few months, we went down the £79 or $99 a month route. And then as soon as we started getting more regular attendees, and we also wanted to upgrade because we wanted longer periods, then we went to the more expensive. And we actually pay on a quarterly basis, which is $757 for this version. But we've actually upgraded and went to more expensive, which is about twice as expensive. Now, one of the other advantages of the Big Marker is that even on the starter package, you can run a 4-hour webinar, which means you can use it for training courses. And most of the others are limited to 2 hours. So although you are paying a bit more, you are getting a little bit more for your money. So if you're just running 1 hour webinars, then yeah, there are some cheaper options out there. But for us, we wanted to be able to use it for training courses. And if you want to run a full day conference, or you want to get more than 500 attendees, you definitely will need to upgrade, which is what we've done. There's also a link here. It's a bit.ly link to make it easier. So it's bit.ly/Anicca-big marker. That is a referral link so that you can actually get a discount. And it's our referral link as well. I will do a pop-up with that later on. Okay, so just a little bit more about the packages. So this is Zoom. You can see the different upgrades. Obviously, when you get the slides, you can have a little bit more detail on that. And this is the big marker packages with the different discounts. Unfortunately, it's in dollars. I wouldn't pay annually. I definitely pay the first one monthly, and then, as I said, we pay quarterly. We've got a referral, so we get a bit of a discount on that. But it's definitely worth the extra money, particularly if you're doing it for training as well. So this is a little bit of the reasons of why we went for big marker, which I have gone through and explained. One of the other reasons why we like it is I can actually see the chat while I'm presenting. And in a lot of cases, what happens is that when you are the host or the presenter and you share your screen, what you're doing is going into slide share moment, and all I'd be able to see is the whole of my presentation in something like PowerPoint, and I wouldn't be able to see any of the comments. So I wouldn't be able to see the fact that Jordan's just added those links, because that's not shown if you've got a lot of the packages. The other thing is that you can easily co-host with another load of presenters. So normally there's a couple of us on this presentation, and I would often, myself or Jess usually are the hosts, and then you've got the presenters, and then we can ask questions, and it's really easy to use. The other thing I would definitely recommend is you stage your upgrades. You're not sure how often you're going to use it, so start with the starter package and then gradually upgrade. Okay, so let me go through the timeline of the actual process of hosting and setting up a webinar. So I divided this into the 5 Ps. So you've got planning 2 to 4 weeks before, promotion a week to 2 weeks before, preparation -1 day or on the day, and then the actual presentation, and then any post-presentation review that you might do. So what I've done is I've actually got a timeline, and I'm going to work backwards from today. So Friday is the day that I present our webinars, and I email out the video later on today. That will be a couple of hours later on. So to be honest, because we do this so often, we have truncated this process, but I don't recommend you do that when you first start. You're going to need about a 3-week process. And if you're relying on other staff who are going to, other people to present or guest presenters, you need to make sure that you've got all their information well in advance. So first of all, you need to agree the schedule for your future webinars. We've now planned ours out for the first 3 months of the year. This is partially due to the fact that we're running the conference, and because we're going to use and replay and sort of expand the conference presentations, we're able to take those and really schedule for the next 3 or 4 months. The presenter then needs to provide the title, description, and the topics. That creates our landing page. You then need to create the assets, the webinar, and the landing page within within Canva, and then within Big Marker. You then, if you've got a website like we have, you want to update your link with the information, and you want to prepare your email. You then want to mention this next presentation. So the way we were doing it before was we effectively were running two presentations. We were marketing the one for next week at the same time that we were marketing this week. So we were always working 1 week ahead of us. We then realized pretty quickly that most people aren't booking for the following week. They're only interested in the one this week. So that's why we've been able to condense it down. But I think that's because everybody knows now that we run a webinar every Friday, and they're not really bothered, and they sort of leave that slot mentally. Oh, at 9 o'clock, that's Anicca's webinar. I'm going to leave that space, and then I'll just see if I want to attend, depending on what the topic is. When you're doing it, you definitely need to get into the habit or the rhythm of advertising too, because you're not really sure how your audience are going to behave and how full their diaries are. When we get to Monday, that's when the real activity starts. And that's when we will send the first big email from Big Marker. And we'll also set up and launch an email from meetup.com. And if you're not familiar with meetup.com, that's how we used to run Leicester Digital. And I'll give you an example of what that looked like in a minute. Then on the Tuesday, automatically a reminder comes from Big Marker. And then we'll set our social media posts in Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. And Jordan does quite a lot of that on the Anicca side. And then I also will promote that, and the staff will promote that on their individual pages. We'll also prepare the email from Anicca, which we use SharpSpring, but that could be MailChimp, and that's sent out on the Wednesday. On the Thursday, another email is sent out from Big Marker, and then we receive the slides from the presenters. And if we're not happy with them, we'll kick them back and ask them to make a couple of amends. But we're basically getting that PDF ready to upload on Friday morning. On the Friday morning or the day before, if I've got time, we'll be loading the PDFs, creating any polls and any additional offers. And then, as you know, we run the webinar, we hit record, and then at the end, we'll email out the video. So what it means is that although it'd be interesting to hear your comments, you're pretty much getting an email from us every day, various different types of emails, but it's not actually taking a lot of work on our behalf. Also, they're not particularly intrusive. They're text emails, and if you want to ignore them, you can. But I would be really interested to hear your comments in the chat of, how annoying our emails are, and if you're not interested in whether you're just ignoring them and you just look out for the topic and the title and just respond when it's of interest. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to go over is I'm just going to go over creating the assets from Canva. Now, instead of reproducing this, I've nicked this from the previous presentation, so they are slightly old. So first of all, using Canva, we have to create a banner ad, which goes on the top of our landing page. You've got the size there. Obviously, this will be specific to whatever package we use. So what we do is we just clone the previous one. So this was the old one. We modify it, and then we create the new one, and then we just save that, and then we can then upload it. So it's very, very simple, very quick. Once you've got the first one, you just go into the pattern. You see that we've played around with various templates, and we have standardized them now. We were guilty of being quite inconsistent. I do recommend you get that right, and it's probably worth investing in a good template. And now they look much better because we're consistent in the way that it works. You also have to create an advertising image, which goes onto the channel page. This image is also used in all your posts in social media. So again, you can see how it evolved from that one to that one, and then finally to this one. This is what it looks like on the landing page. You'll notice that's a bit grayed out. That was something that I realized later on. I've got a filter on it, which I've now corrected. But that's what a landing page would look something like that, but the image would look a little bit clearer. So that sort of shows you the three main assets that you prepare in Canva and then create the webinar over in Big Marker. And that's what the landing page looks like once you've added the title and description. And then you've got your reservation form. Now, there are different landing page options, but you can see all of that in the earlier webinar, which Jordan's quite kindly put in the chat. Now, this is what the Big Marker channel page looks like. So we created this. We've used our nice cake image with the logos on, and then you can see the upcoming webinars, and you can also see all the recordings. So Big Marker in itself is a bit like SlideShare. It's got a big following its own right. So we publish all our webinars publicly. But when you first load it, it automatically creates this slot, and then you just have to go in and edit. And we use the advertising image just to upload that and change that. And so once you've done that, it looks more like this. So that's really quick. So again, the advantage of using the Big Marker software, and some of the others have got similar functionality, is, you know, you just create the webinar and all this stuff is done for you. So it's not like you've got to go in and redo it all or do all these emails. You do one email and everything happens automatically. So it's really automated. Okay, so let's go into the real nuts and bolts of the key promotional activity. So what I've done is I've just summarized them on this long page. And I've tried to put them in some form of importance. So the first thing you need to do is create your own assets. So this includes creating a landing page for each webinar within Big Marker or whatever software you're using. You can then go off and create a webinar page on your actual website. So what we've done is create a resource library. Now this has evolved. For the first year, really up until Christmas, we were using a static page and just adding the widget which comes over from the software and just putting that in. And it was a bit of a manual process and it didn't look particularly good. So over Christmas, we updated that to a resource library, which has got a whole load of filters. And I'll show you what that looks like in a minute or two. And I do recommend that if you are going to get into the habit of doing this, you really do need to invest in the way that this is presented on your website, so it becomes an actual resource which is useful for users. And similarly, you know, we've actually got some of our website and webinar content is then also integrated with our blog, which I'll also show you later on. The other thing that we do for the big events, so you'll see it on my email in a minute, for the conference, which is on the 16th of February, is we also create a banner in the our email footers. And because we use Google as our email server, we can create that centrally and it automatically goes on everybody's email. Once the webinar's over, what we'll do is we'll replace that with a generic webinar one, so that's there. So if we're emailing to somebody that's, you know, new to us and they don't know about the webinars, they will get that. But again, we tend to use the email footer banner for specific or big activities. From within the Big Marker package, the actual email is the most important marketing channel. And you'll see from the data later on, it typically gets over 50% of our registrations. So the first thing you need to do is, if you're new to this, or you need to do this on a weekly basis, is you need to upload your existing contacts and emails up into the Big Marker at the top level, or the channel list. This is right at the top, irrespective of which webinar. This is your list for the whole of your channel, or the Anicca channel in our case. Now, what we do is we bring in all of our data from any forms, any sign-ups, because we tend to be running adverts on our website to get people to sign up for the A10 ebook that we've got. And we also have people signing up for free access to our academy. So every week we probably get 100 or so new people that we then want to add into the channel list. Also, if they've extended or they've registered for last week's webinar, we could, and you know, we've done marketing on LinkedIn, we're getting new people all the time. So it's a bit of a flywheel, in that we're constantly updating the channel list. Currently, that's over 4,000 people. But by adding to that every month, or every week rather, we can then promote an individual webinar by sending it out for that specific one. And then all the follow-ups are completely automated. So you've got a bit of a flywheel going on, so that we're topping it up all the time. So if you can compare now, where we've got something like 4,500 people on our email list, when we first started, we had we probably only had a couple of hundred, which we imported from our Sharp Spring list, and you can see how that's gradually grown. We also create an email within our Sharp Spring software, you can do this with MailChimp. And this is probably your best way of starting. And what you're doing is you're driving people from your email over to the webinar page on Big Marker. And then from there, they'll then register, and then they'll be in the system. And then you can then get them to add them on to the next week. So as I said, it's a perpetual motion machine. The other thing that we do is, because we're always trying to get to new people, is we'll use a whole load of social media and other routes to advertise the webinar. So for the big webinar, we would definitely create a LinkedIn event, but for the majority of them, we will create a LinkedIn post. And I go into the difference in a while, and the advantages of one versus the other. We used to set up Facebook events. It doesn't work particularly well for our target audience. Obviously, it depends on who you're connected with, but they are trying to give, both LinkedIn and Facebook are really trying to push this functionality and give and link it through with advertising as well, so that you can, if you've got a budget, which is my last point there, you can sort of amplify these posts. We are very lucky in that we've got 1,500 people that are members of our meetup community, because we were using that for our live events, and so we can send it out for that as well. And then also we can promote the webinar through any other network. So for me, I'm a member of Goldman Sachs network, and we've also just started to develop our YouTube channel. Okay, so let's go through each of these systematically. So the first one is to use your website and emails to market your webinar. So first of all, I can add a footer to my email. That's relatively easy to do. Again, this is created in Canva. I then can get the widget or the code within the Big Marker package, and most of them will offer something similar to this. And then from there, I can design it a little bit. So you can see I've edited this slightly. And then I can then get that code, and then I can add it to my website. And there's a very similar process to get the recording widget. And in fact, the interesting thing is that this widget converts into a recording widget once you've actually done the webinar. I'll show you what that looks like as well. And this is how we used to do it, we realized we weren't sort of using the template particularly well, but there's a little bit of text to try and get the SEO. And then what we do is we add an image, and we add a link, and the link is tracked with a code, and then it looks something like this. And then if I click through to there, I go through to the landing page. Now, what we've done now is we've created a much nicer resource library. And the resource library has the advantage that it's much more search engine friendly. Because you've only got a little image and you've got a snippet, so this is a better one here, of the upcoming upcoming webinars. So this is the 2 conference ones. You've only got a small amount of text and a little bit of a snippet. You then click through to the resource page. I'll show you what that looks like. So this is much faster than the previous page, which had a lot of code on it. And you can see these are the upcoming ones. And then as you scroll down, you can see the past webinars. So this webinar was a live demo, so there wasn't a PDF. But if you click through to it, you go to the resource page. But this one, if you just want to get the PDF, you can just click and download the PDF. Or if you click through, you can then get the video. And if you want any old ones, we are still updating the videos. So bear with us while we get them completely updated. But you should be able to see in most cases the video is there. And that's the link to the resource library. Nice and easy to remember that one. It may be worth, again, if you want to, Jordan, if you could add that in the chat for me. The other thing is if you go to the channel page that I showed you just a minute ago, you will get all of the old videos and old recordings as well. So there's a couple of places to get that. Now, this is what a resource library listing page actually looks like. So we've got some text which should help with the SEO. And you can see this is the widget for the one that's coming up. So that allows you to click on there and you can actually fill in a form there and then. And then this is what it looks like once the webinar has been happened. And then if you click on there, you have to enter your details to go and view the recording. Now, what we've also done, and we've built this within the functionality, is if we go to, so say we wanted to go and see this particular webinar on getting started with LinkedIn advertised that Bhakti presented before Christmas, we can get that in a couple of ways. We can use the filter on Bhakti and say, I saw that webinar, I really want to go and find out more about it. And you can actually click through from the resource. Or you've noticed we've also created a blog listing on it. And instead of going through the resource page, which I showed you just a minute ago, it goes into a fully optimized blog post, which actually has got huge amounts of text and detail. It's almost a transcription of the conversation. And this then acts as a guide. But you can see right at the top of the page, you can watch the video if you want, or you can read more, and there's lots more details and lots more links. Now, what we're doing for these is instead of this being you now need to go through and register, what we're doing is we're now embedding the YouTube videos, which we've loaded up to our YouTube channel. And we're gradually updating that. So it's a better user experience. So if they come here, they don't want to have to click through and register again. They'll get the embedded video straight away. So what we've been doing is we've been uploading all our webinars and the videos from the recording. This is still work in progress. You can see that we've got a bit of variability with regards to the covers, but we've standardized with the titles and who's organized it. They're optimized. We've got the description and everything. So these have only been running for a week. And as this starts to build, this will become a channel in its own right. And so the process that we're going in internally, the content team, is updating as many of the webinars and converting them to blogs as possible, and then adding them to the YouTube channel and then using the embedded video. So this means that our content is being shown in lots of different places. We also use a feature called Optimonster. If you've been onto the Anicca site, you would have noticed this. This is at the top. There's also a pop-up for the A10. This is a paid one, but there are cheaper ones. And this is a countdown at the top, getting you to register. So it's like a promotional ad to try and encourage you to register. Because, of course, you're getting other traffic to the site all the time, and you want them to sign up. And with the case of the main conference, we want as many people to sign up as possible. So let me just explain how we send the email from Big Market. And as I said, this is the most important one because it gets us over 50% of our traffic. So first of all, you need to import your list, and you can do that with Excel, or you can use various different integrations, a bit like you do with LinkedIn. You then create an email template, and you just basically edit these fields, which it brings in all the data from the actual webinar. So it's very, very quick. I just literally edit a couple of fields, and then you can edit the design, so you've got some control over how it looks and feels. You can change the colors, etc. And then you can schedule it or send it immediately. And then as soon as you schedule it, or as soon as it's sent rather, another email will automatically be sent out 24 hours later, a day before the webinar and an hour before the webinar, just giving people the login details of how to register, how to enter. So by sending ours on Monday, it then means we get another one on Tuesday, another one on Thursday, and another one on Friday morning. So that works really well for us. We can also send an email for our own list. I'm not going to try and show you how to do email marketing. There's another webinar for that. But this is using SharpSpring, but MailChimp is very similar. And basically, we use a template and edit it. And typically, we'll send this out on a Wednesday. So all the webinar details are further down. And then we'll broadcast this to a list. And in the same way that we're using this list to populate the big marker list, this process is reversed. So that gives another opportunity for people to actually see the newsletter, and also for us to show other information. With regard to the social media and third-party platforms, I'm going to go through each of these one at a time. So the first thing is a LinkedIn post, and I don't know whether you've noticed, but LinkedIn posts don't always get the same level of engagement that we expect. So this is now the standard format of our way that we promote the webinars: the photograph of the person, the description, and the date. So it's really easy for people to see. And you can see in this particular case, so this was screen grabbed yesterday, and I posted this, I think, on Monday or Tuesday. We'd had 19 reactions or likes and only 2 comments. And actually, I only had 886 views. Now, I've currently got 12,000 connections, so this is about 8%. So it's not a particularly good reach. However, from that 886 views and anything else that the team has done, we've had 6 registered from LinkedIn this week. So it has worked. It's just not working as well as it used to, because there's so much content in LinkedIn being posted by everybody every day. Now, for the conference, I've actually created an event. And the reason I've created an event is it's more important for us to get a lot more people, and it has a lot of extra functionality. So you can see it looks different. You can see how many people are registered. I can actually invite. And if I go in, I've got things like the attendees and I've got the analytics. So this is me looking at it from perspective of me managing it. And you can actually see I can manage the event there. So the advantage of this is it gives you a lot more functionality. And it's actively pushed out to your contact, my connections, within their connection request section. So if you once you've created one of these LinkedIn events, you can actually push out to 1,000 people a week by ticking the boxes. You know, I've got 12,000 contacts, so I really should have started this a little bit earlier. And as you go down, you can see if any of them have attended. These are the ones I'm sending it to. You can see who I've invited. Now, I noticed the second week that I attended that some of the people that I sent it to before, the box was available to retick. And this is because they've declined your invitation. So what you don't want to do is just keep ticking the same boxes. It's better for you to scroll down to people that haven't been sent it before, because if you keep, you're basically wasting your 1,000 connections. But this is a really powerful way of getting to a lot of people. So far, I've sent 2,000 invitations. One I stupidly did at 11 o'clock at night when I was trying to work out how to use it. So definitely don't make that mistake. But so far, I've had something like 300 or 15% have actually signed up. So this is what it looks like if you see them in your feed. So this is a nice ad that I think Jordan prepared the creative for, and then you've got the event, and you can see, although this is a bit bigger because the way I've scaled it on the page, I have got more engagement and interactions. More people have seen it, and actually, you know, they can proactively go on and click onto it. Now, there is a bit of a problem with this. When you do this version, you go directly to Big Marker, and if they click through, they actually are signing up. With this, they're signing up with LinkedIn, but they haven't actually clicked through to Big Marker to actually sign up. So although I've got 300 at the moment, I think it's 300 this morning, that doesn't necessarily mean that they've actually logged in and registered. So you're going to have to remind them, but via to the event, you know, make sure you don't register. And I know from a colleague of mine who ran an event in the last couple of weeks, the guys at Digital Ethos, they had something like 6,000 people signed up on LinkedIn. But when you actually logged in to Big Marker, their webinar platform or their conference platform, it was a different platform. They had about 1,500. So 1,500 is amazing for a conference. So they did a really, really good job. But you can see that not everybody actually went from LinkedIn across. You do get some good analytics, so you can see the number of people that click through and the sign-up rate, and how that gradually grows week on week. So we've got another 3 weeks to go, so that'll give me another 3 bites of the cherry, or 2 bites of the cherry, before the actual conference goes live. And I can also start to see quite a lot of information about the type of people that are seeing it, and also the level of seniority. And of course, our events appeal to 2 types of people, because we've got 2 streams. We've got the more advanced people and the business people, and then we've got the trainees and the students and the more junior people that are learning it for the first time, which is why we've actually divided it into 2 streams. So our most popular are direct to senior and then entry. So you can see the entry guys coming in through LinkedIn there. I sat in a webinar yesterday from LinkedIn, or the day before from LinkedIn, showing us all their new features. LinkedIn Partner, we do get advanced warning of a lot of the stuff that they're doing. And I grabbed this slide because I thought it was relevant. They're launching a whole load of new features around events, including paid boosting of events, registration forms. So because LinkedIn now have got their LinkedIn Live, which is a bit like Facebook Live, they are really trying to compete in this space and to offer a lot of webinar and live event functionality. So I think this is a massive area of expansion for them. This is a Facebook event. This is this is just showing the range of ad creative that we used last year until we pinned it down. We didn't get huge sign-ups, so we don't really bother with that. It's we're so busy doing lots of other things for clients that it really isn't worth doing this if it doesn't work for you. So we ran about 5 or 6 with Facebook, creating a Facebook event, and we sort of gave up about August time because we just weren't getting the traction that was warranted creating it. You can all post and boost these and put some paid budget, but you need to test it because it will depend on your individual audience. And then we're lucky enough, 6 years ago, we created our first e-commerce conference, and then we created Meetup, and we created our community. And you can see we're just under 1,500 people. It's not really grown very much because there's not any live events happening in the last year. But we are able to put the events on, and we do get an automatic email. It's not particularly strong for us at the moment, so we're not probably doing this regularly enough. But I think this will come back into play when we start running live events as well. So watch this space. But I definitely recommend that Meetup is something that you should grow. So if you do want to create a local community, it is in your sector, it is worth doing. The other big area for me is some private networking that I belong to. So I was very lucky, and if anybody hasn't heard of this, it's something you should look into, is Goldman Sachs offered the 10,000 Small Business Program, which is like a mini MBA. There's thousands of people in the UK that have been on this now. And we've got like a feed, and we can go in and we can post content. So this is a very good source of new people, because there's new people doing the Goldman Sachs all the time. And of course, people are interested in marketing their businesses, because the whole point of joining the program is to grow your business. So we got some good signups from Goldman Sachs when we've done this. So if you are a part of any private networking events, please do post in those sorts of places as well, because that will be really powerful. Okay, so let me show you some of the data. So first of all, I have to extract the data from the software, and you get all the data in the form of an Excel spreadsheet. It's really good. It includes all the details about each of the individuals that have registered. In our registration form, we've included company and sector. I then can see who registered, who attended, what polls, what answers, what offers they interacted with, what their chat messages were, basically all that information. It can be downloaded from this Excel spreadsheet. The only criticism was for me to do this piece of work, I had to download over 30 of them. So the only thing that's annoying is there isn't a consolidated view across our own channel, and we are recommending to Big Marker that that's an upgrade, because it took me a huge amount of manual work to process all this data at the individual level in order for me to know how many webinars each of you guys attended. So I did that work and my findings were that 1,400 people, this was up till Christmas, had registered to attend. So that's individuals, deduped individuals, had to attend one of our webinars in 2020. However, 728 individuals actually attended. So we have about a 50% rate of attrition. However, interestingly, we have repeat offenders in both channels. So we had some people that literally registered for 20 webinars, but never attended any of them live. Now they could be watching the videos, and it was just too complicated to do that analysis as well. So it doesn't mean to say they didn't watch it or they didn't get the PDF, but there were lots of people that either registered loads of times or attended loads of times. Now in total, we had just under 4,000 people actually register for a booking, which worked out at 2.8 or nearly 3 registrations each. But actually 1,636 people watched a webinar or attended a webinar session. So this was the number of sessions watched. So that's over 1,600 hours of webinars watched amongst you guys in 2020, which is a huge amount to get that much attention. You think how long it would take us to get in front of that many clients? I mean, it would be, it would take me years. And on average, people that attended 2.2, so somewhere between 2 and 3. But we did get some real addicted, and I'm sure there's a few of you in the audience today that, literally I think the highest was 15 or maybe 20. So you can sort of see your rate that you expect somewhere between 40 and 50%. Now, I have looked at other people's data, and it's often a lot lower that, and it does vary by the actual individual. So if you look by topic, so I grouped the 32 sessions by topic. I'll show you the individual data in a minute, and group them together. And we had different numbers of topics, which is the blue axis. So obviously we are the most well known for paid, which was 9 webinars. But that was actually the least popular. And I think that's because you're either into paid media or you're not. Now, Lewis has asked a really interesting question of how many people we've converted from the webinars. I know there's at least 4 customers, and I know there's people that we're still talking to that regularly come on and actually said that the reason why they put us in their pitch was because of the webinars and how useful, and it meant that they just knew us already and that they trust us. So yeah, 4 out of 700 isn't such a good ratio, but you've got to remember that for some of these we were doing this to try and be helpful. So I'm not unhappy with 4, and it was really noticeable around October. People started coming to me and saying, I've been watching your webinars. In fact, I know there's a couple of people in the audience that actually came to us as a direct result of the webinars, and they wouldn't have heard of us before. So we didn't really go into it with, oh, we're going to get loads of work out of this. But obviously that has been an unexpected bonus of what we've done. We wanted the awareness, and we wanted the trust, and we wanted people to think, guys, they've been helping us out, we're not over this yet. Maybe more people come back later. So there was a bit of hopeful karma to come. You can also see from this chart that our most popular was the social media, and then some more generic ones on digital marketing, which I'll show you in a second. And you can also see the ratio of the attended and registered. So this is the number of registered, and this is the number attended, which is usually around 40 to 50%, but does vary quite considerably. I won't go into the individuals, but these, this is each of them, and these are ordered in the number that attended. So the most popular was the hosting webinar, which is the one that's the prelude to this, where we got 109 people attend. And then the LinkedIn, how to pimp up your personal profile, which was repeated in January, actually, and that was really popular as well. So that had 105. And you can see, actually, there were some. So this was the LinkedIn one. That was back in July, and I think that was how to use LinkedIn for B2B. That had a lower conversion rate. So there was lots of people attended, but not so many people actually, lots of people registered, but not so many people attended. So this sort of gives you an idea. And then you can see that, when we went back to sort of May time, which was some of our earlier ones, we were really pleased to have 30 people. We thought that was brilliant. But we have had a few odd ones where they weren't as quite as popular. But I think 30 to 50 people in a webinar isn't unreasonable. A lot of you I know would be very happy with that. It would be quite nice if anybody that are running webinars, if you could give us an idea of your registration attendance in the chat, so other people can get an idea of whether these are really good figures or whether these are average. So if the people that did actually say, that would be really appreciated. I'm just getting towards the end now, so I'm going to flick forward. So this is just this data in graph form, and I picked the top two, and I'm just going to quickly show you the data for the top two. So this is the 3rd of July, and you can see the number of registrations and the number of attendees and the number of engaged participants. This is all data from the platform. And then we can see where we got the traffic sources from. So you can see the type of places we got them. And actually, by using the tracking code in the link, this particular one, we got a lot from the chamber because they did promote this one for us. And we also got a lot from Goldman Sachs. Now this one, which was a week later, we still had a very high level, but it was mainly our newsletter and our own marketing. And you can see that the email invites from Big Marker got 53%. So I'm going to just round up with some conclusions and some top tips, as I know many of you have to dart off at 10 o'clock. So sources of traffic then. The emails from Big Marker platform gave us over 50% of our signups. And the reason we were able to grow it during the progress was we kept on adding it back. I'll answer your question, David, at the end of this, or I can speak to you separately about the Goldman Sachs, because I think that will be of interest to a few of you. And our own website and newsletter typically achieve between 10 and 25%, and sharing on LinkedIn achieved up to 10%. It does really vary. Some of these news sources, such as the Chamber and the Goldman Sachs newsletter, in that particular week was really powerful and brought in 30%. One of my biggest tips to you is to keep on increasing your list and keep on adding them back in. And also, where possible, integrate all your lists. And if you can do this using something like Zapier or linking your CRM system, that will cut out a lot of the sort of manual work that you have to do. And what you're trying to do is generate a flywheel or a funnel where you're putting people at the top, for example, by using paid ads. And we do that to get people to sign up for the A10 downloads, and then keep on adding these into the webinar lists. Now, your likely results, most people will register in the week before, which was a real surprise to us. And even if you promote weeks in advance, most of them will come the week before. And it really does matter what the subject is and the title. And I know that I've made a few mistakes on my title, and I think I would have got a lot more people if I just talked about marketing webinars today, rather than talking about what we did last year. But typically we get 50 to nearly 300 registrations per week, and it does vary. On average, we got 42% attendance, which ranged from 20 to 109. And the thing that I'm really proud of is over 700 individuals have attended at least one webinar. And we've had nearly 4,000 bookings and over 1,600 hours of webinars being watched by everybody here. Lessons then. Consistency and convenience. I've had a few people say, oh, can you change the time because I've got to take the kids to school. Our advice was that 9 o'clock on a Friday morning, most people haven't booked a meeting at that time. They've done their emails, they've done everything else they need, and they've consistently left a slot with us every Friday to come along. And that's why, if it was at 10 o'clock, there's other networking events, or you've got to go into your first meeting. So that joining it first thing, I think, has been the key to our success, and doing it every single week. Now, I think overall we could have got a similar number of signups if we'd done it monthly, but I don't think we would have been as helpful. We wouldn't have covered as many subjects, and it wouldn't have had our prime objective of, helping other people out and getting our expertise across. You really do need to use a mix of promotional methods and, where possible, grow your list, because it's the webinar platform email that has generated over half of our registrations. So if you can get that bit right by getting the right software, thank you, Susan. That's really kind of you. She's talking about karma. If you can get the right software and let the software do the work for you, it will save you hours in manual work. It is worth paying for some fresh registrations, particularly when you first start. I mean, you've got to remember, we had a big list in our email. We've got a big following on Anicca and our personal profiles, and we got the meetup. So Leicester Digital's meetup. So we've got a head start. So I think if any of you have got to start from scratch, you may need to invest a little bit of money. You need to make sure your technical hosts know what the hell they're doing, because I've been to some webinars and they've been awful. I've been to some conferences and they've been awful. And to be honest, if we'd messed this up earlier on, you guys wouldn't be coming back, because people do not forgive you if you cock it up. And I know I've had a few technical issues myself, but they've been so minor that people have forgiven us. You have to be authentic, friendly, professional, and helpful. You've got to remember why you're doing this. Use the polls. It's a good way of learning about your audience. And use the offers, which is my cue to post some of them. And don't overrun. She says just as she does overrun. So I'm just going to bring a couple of offers up. So first of all, go and sign up for the discount for Big Marker. And there's the queue there. And then I've got the conference, and I've got our survey. So I'm going to bring them up for you because it's so much easier to do it live. So first of all, let's tell you about our survey. So we're in the middle of doing a massive survey, and as many people that can sign up, the better. I had a look at the results this morning. They are fascinating. You're going to want to know what people are doing. It's all about what you're focusing your budgets on, what channels work, and what you plan to do as a result of what happened last year. Please click on the link. And even if you don't do it now, you'll be able to do it after we finish. And it's in our blog as well. So go and look on our blog, and you can do it from our blog. The next offer I want to tell you is, of course, Leicester Digital Live. We've got two streams of speakers. There's 20 speakers altogether. You can register now. This is for the advanced sessions with suppliers and guest speakers. We've got people like SEMrush, Yoast, Similar Web Speaking, Optimizer if you're into paid. There's 10 sessions in both. The other session is the Anicca staff are doing lots of introductory stuff, and you can switch from each and also, of course, get the video. And then for everybody that's interested in signing up for Big Marker, again, if you just want to click on the link, this will give you a 7-day free trial and a discount. I do recommend this. I mean, it gives us so much functionality. I couldn't have done these webinars without it. And having seen the mess that other people have made it, I definitely would recommend it. Disclaimer there, we do get some commission if you sign up. But to be honest, it is worth the effort. And then finally, this just gives you a bit more information about Leicester Digital Live. Jordan, could you put the link for Leicester Digital Live in the chat for me, please? And finally, next week's webinar, really different theme. Angie Padfield, who's our business development manager, she's going to be talking about sales, which is unheard of for Anicca, but it's turning your market leaders into sales, and it's tips of the trade. Angela's got 25 years experience. She's knocked our socks off since she's come here. She's outsold all the previous people that we've employed over the years, even in the first 3 months. So she's going to do a great job for you next week. I think that's it from me. So if any of you want any more information, I don't think there's any questions, which means hopefully I've explained everything. For anybody that's interested in the Goldman Sachs program, if you do a search on Goldman Sachs 10,000 small businesses, there's also a blog on it on our website where I explain it. They have regular cohorts every quarter. It's usually about 60 to 100 people, and it's a mini MBA. It's completely free. They provide you with a whole load of training material, whole load of you actually get your education at Aston, Oxford University, and I think it's Leeds. And you go in for 2 days. They pay for all the accommodation, the hotels, the food. You mix with some amazing people. The speakers and the academics are brilliant, and then they have a sort of an aftercare program as well. I know that this cohort's been delayed because of COVID, because I do prefer to teach it live. But you do have quite an extensive interview process to join, but it is worth it. You do need to be employing people, and you do have to have a minimum turnover. I think the turnover is 500,000 and the number of staff is 5. And it is designed for people that have got plans to grow. So they're looking for people that want to sort of accelerate from 500,000 to 1 million, or 1 million to 5 million, etc. But it's really, really helpful. And I learnt loads from it, and I still get involved with them now. Hopefully I've answered all your questions. Thanks for all the nice comments. If anybody of you want to email me, my email address is there if you need any help. And I think that's everything for today. So I look forward to speaking and seeing you next week. If you thought this was useful and you think anybody else would find it useful, please share it. We didn't have quite as many people signed up for this one as usual. So let's spread the word, and I'll see you all next week. Thanks very much.